Hi, this is Jason from Horrific Nightmares, and I've been tagged again by my buddy Brad, BRONCOJUGGALO, and I'm going to be doing Jamie Powell's first 10 horror movies. One of the things I've noticed in watching Brad and Hellhound's videos is that everybody seems to have a problem remembering what their first 10 horror movies were. And when I started to make my list, I found myself having the same problem. I know what my first two were. After that, it gets kind of sketchy. So I'm going to do my best to try to piece it together. And there's going to be a few or two of them in there that are maybe honorable mentions because people might not think that they count. So let's get this list started. Now, the very first movie, and I've told the story before, that I saw with my father in the theaters was Godzilla vs. Megalon. Now, this is the first honorable mention, if you will, because I know some people don't consider Godzilla horror. I do, but some people may not. The other honorable mention is going to be The Dark Night of the Scarecrow, which I watched on TV when it first came out. Being a TV movie, some people may not consider that part of a list. So I knew Jamie Powell did one that I thought looked quite interesting. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but yeah, that was a TV movie. But I'm just going to stick with movies that were in the movie theaters, even though Godzilla vs. Megalon was in the movie theaters. But now, my very first legit horror movie was Happy Birthday to Me. I was at a sleepover over a friend's house with another one of my classmates. And we went to the video store, and the father said we could rent anything we wanted, basically. So we looked for the coolest cover we could find, or the coolest tagline, or whatever. And, of course, it was Happy Birthday to Me. 6 of the most bizarre murders you'll ever see, and they pretty much were. My second legit horror movie was at the same friend's house. It was his birthday party, sleepover, and it was Friday the 13th Part 2. Now, I know, like I said, I was just watching Hellhound's list, and he said he always had to start at the beginning. Well, my niche, I guess, was number twos. For some reason, I seem to have watched a lot of number twos before I saw the original. So, anyway, my second legit horror movie was Friday the 13th Part 2. Third and fourth can be interchanged because I was at a friend's house and he had cable, and where I lived, where I grew up, we didn't have cable because it just wasn't in our area. So I watched Friday the 13th Part 3 over his house. Now, I can't remember if I watched that before the original Friday or after, because I watched Friday the 13th on television at my house. It was on network television. So, third and fourth is Friday the 13th and Friday the 13th Part 3. From there, we used to rent my father and I used to rent a lot of VHS, and at the time we had what was called a CED video disc, because I'm old, yeah, and that was a form of entertainment. That was kind of before VHS a little bit. So I rented My Bloody Valentine and The Funhouse, and I remember renting those two either at the same time or within a couple days of each other. And then, like I said, we had a VCR and a CED video disc player. I remember renting Halloween 2, which was the first Halloween movie I saw, and I was just blown away. For some reason, I hadn't seen the original, probably because growing up Methodist, used to go to Sunday school every weekend, and a lot of the kids were talking about watching Halloween the first time it aired on network television. And they spoiled most of the movie, so I didn't feel I had to go and watch right away. So, but I did rent Halloween 2 on CED video disc, and the discs were about this big by this big, and just having the cover art that big was so cool. Then I was over at my cousin's house, who also had cable. Like I said, I grew up, I didn't have cable. We watched Jaws 2, which was my very first Jaws movie. Of course, later on, I rented the original Jaws and watched it. But I love Jaws 2. That's why it always has kind of a special place in my heart. So, let's see. Halloween 2 is number 7. Jaws 2 is number 8. Then came The Fog. I really wanted to watch The Fog on network television, and I remember my parents, like some kind of a special occasion. I can't remember what happened, but they said if I could stay up and watch it, and I ended up falling asleep 10 or 15 minutes during it, probably during the commercials or whatever. So I ended up renting it and finished watching it and thought it was just brilliant. So that's number 9, The Fog. And number 10 is one of the last movies I remember renting on CED video disc, which is Creepshow. I love Creepshow. And like I said, they were this big. The discs were, it's a casing. Basically, you slide it in, the disc goes inside, and then you slide the casing back out. And I remember it was blue. Most of the outer casings were white, and this one was blue. It was really cool. So, but yeah, that's my first 10, with a couple of honorable mentions, if you will, whether you guys consider them horror movies or not. Like I said, I do, but I figured I would just stick with mainstream horror films. So, let's see, who am I going to tag? I'm going to tag Joe the TheHORROman. I'm going to tag The Last Shoegazer. I'm going to tag Adalyn's Horror World. Let's see, I think Amy's already been tagged. How about Jsuperawesome? Hopefully I can remember those and write them down. But yeah, that's who I'm going to tag. When you get a chance, if you want to do it, that's fine. But this is a really fun tag. So thank you, Brad, for tagging me. And like I said, Jamie Powell created this one, and it was a lot of fun. Brought back a lot of memories. And until next time, peace.